How's it going, everyone? Roshank here, bringing you my first impressions and review of the Contraptions DLC for Fallout 4. And unfortunately guys, I'm a little disappointed. On the one hand, I don't necessarily think this DLC is bad, because it did introduce some cool things to the settlement system like statues, display racks, machinery, and more. I definitely think this is a better Workshop DLC than Wasteland Workshop because it's not nearly as glitchy from my experience, and the stuff they added was just cooler for the most part. But here's my problem with Contraptions. It just didn't do enough. When you make a DLC, the whole point is to add new content, whether that's brand new quests, or a new landmass to explore, or revolutionizing an in-game mechanic, or perhaps even introducing an all-new mechanic. So long as you add something substantially new, you've met the purpose of a DLC. With Contraptions and Wasteland Workshop though, Bethesda took an already existing mechanic in the settlement building system and just added a little bit to it. In order for this DLC to succeed, it needed to revolutionize the settlement building system to some extent, which it did not do. And when I say revolutionize, I'm not trying to say I want something out of this world, or for them to reconstruct the settlement building system from the bottom up, or anything like that, so I guess perhaps it's the wrong word to use here. But what I do mean is I expect them to introduce something new and novel with settlements if they're going to do a Workshop DLC that goes beyond just adding new items to settlements. Here's a great example of a good idea for a settlement DLC, the Build Your Own Vault DLC that's coming out next. The concept behind this DLC is to take the settlement building system and apply it in a completely different context than before, which to me is a revolution of the mechanic. Now, I have no idea how that DLC is going to turn out, to be perfectly honest, but I'll tell you right now, it already has way more potential than Contraptions or Wasteland Workshop. Another thing I think Bethesda has lost sight of a little bit with Contraptions is that these are supposed to be Fallout 4 DLCs and not just settlement DLCs. A DLC has got to add things in a way that gets a big portion of the game involved and not just one single mechanic in settlements. Here's an idea, why not add a small island for us to go to where perhaps there's some sort of settlement guru and it's there that we learn how to build all of these things. A major problem with this DLC is that it wasn't really even a Fallout 4 DLC in the first place, but rather just a settlement DLC, which is something they could have easily fixed by adding a new area to explore. I really hate to say this because I don't actually think this is the case, but the way it comes across is that this is more of a money grab DLC. Once again, Bethesda is not that type of company, and despite how it comes across, I don't think it's what they're trying to do, because if they really wanted to just make money, they could expand and release a Fallout or Elder Scrolls game every other year, but obviously they're not doing that. Instead, I think Bethesda just wants to focus on Nuka World for the most part, and they have most of their resources focused there, which is why this DLC turned out the way it did. Shifting the focus of this conversation a little bit, I do want to say that I'm not too worried about all of this for the most part. After what I thought was a very solid DLC in Far Harbor, I think Bethesda's mindset here is to bring us two excellent DLCs with Far Harbor and Nuka World, as opposed to 4 or 5 rather mediocre ones. Let me put it this way, would you rather have Far Harbor and Nuka World, or say 5 Automatron level DLCs? This doesn't excuse what they've done with Wasteland Workshop and Contraptions, but it does say that Nuka World will be good, so we shouldn't be too worried. To close this review off, I cannot recommend this DLC since it's only going to give you around 30 minutes to an hour of real enjoyment, and that's if you're a settlement fanatic. I personally feel Bethesda would have been better off not doing this DLC at all, and instead putting more of their effort into the Build a Vault and Nuka World DLCs, but at the same time, who am I to say? Well, alright folks, that's pretty much gonna do it for this Fallout 4 Contraptions DLC review. As always, if you enjoyed or if you liked anything I had to say, be sure to drop me a like down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more Fallout 4 videos in the future. And of course, be sure to let me know your own thoughts on this DLC down below. Do you agree with me and think it was disappointing for the most part, or do you disagree and think it was actually a very good DLC? Otherwise, I hope you all have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.